Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday night. It's lovely to have you guys here for another episode of the Prime Time Show. We got a lot to get into on this conference championship weekend. We are wrapping up between the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers. That game tightly contested. We know who will be representing the AFC on the AFC side of the bracket. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be for the fourth time in 6 years since Mahomes became a starter. This game tonight has been wild. It follows one of the most perplexing losses from a Super Bowl contender that I've ever seen in my life with the Baltimore Ravens, and all of this going on around the Titans while they're firing staff changes and or while they're making staff changes, firing some members of Mike Vrabel's staff and exploring some hires unto themselves. Welcome in. We're happy to have you. We hope to get you back in time for the 2-minute warning of the NFC Championship game. So we'll go through the firings. We'll talk about who you got in the Super Bowl. It may come down to the wire in this one. Do a little Sunday Funday and get you on and about your evening. We're happy to have you guys as always. We would be even happier if you shared this show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on Facebook Live, you can share now to public like Bobby Manning, like James Strickland, like Craig Baxter. See a lot of Facebook friends there. And if you're on YouTube or on Twitch like Moj, Khan, Hugo, or T. Shannon, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We would be grateful if you did those things, and even more grateful if you told a friend to do the same. Now that more of you are here, more of you guys will trickle in as the show starts, and we'll have some fun this evening. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I am proud, as always, to be presented to you by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, no workout is ever recycled or repeated. You can promise that at TrueMathFitness.com. The law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, wherever justice demands, wherever you need Amanda J., she is there to serve you at AmandaJGentry.com. Get your constitutional rights protected. And Zen Sports. Download the app. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN for your Super Bowl wagers, for your NBA wagers, college basketball, hockey, every major sport that you want to wager on. Zen Sports has you covered in the app. All right. So over the weekend, there was a bunch of firings that took place with the Titans coaching staff. Now, the Titans are still in process of putting that together. It's my understanding that Brian Callahan, your new head coach, is not going to the Senior Bowl this week because his plan is to delegate and hang back and put this staff together under the Tennessee Titans. We understand that that is the biggest, first and foremost priority that this team has ahead of it right now. It's also my understanding that Rand Carthon is going to provide significant support in his staff search and Callahan's staff search. And last time I checked in, I don't know that Rand Carthon was going to. I know that he's not going to do the entire week down there. It's I think it was still up in the air as of Friday, whether he would go for a day or even go at all and delegate those responsibilities further to his staff. Ben Hall says, Bert staying away from tall buildings. I don't know. I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen him. I haven't checked on him. Parker is who is assisting us tonight because Bert is at the AFC Championship game. So, safe to assume that he is unwell, but whether he is physically safe and sound is a matter that we'll have to wait until after the primetime show concludes, because this was my first priority, and then Bert's safety and well-being is my second priority. So we'll get back to him a little later on. But with what we have in the Titans coaching staff and what Brian Callahan plans to put together, the Two Rivers Ford take question is simply this. Which member of Mike Vrabel's staff should Brian Callahan keep? Charles London is somebody we talked about. Defensively, they have requested a couple of interviews. Doesn't necessarily look like they're going to keep Shane Bowen, but, we'll see what happens. Position coaches, for example, Terrell Williams, who is going to be one of the head coaches in the Senior Bowl, defensive line coach, been on a couple of different staffs, been here for a period of time. Players really respect him. You have guys like Chris Harris, the defensive backs coach, who are interviewing for defensive coordinator jobs around the league. Perhaps you like him, perhaps you don't like him. It sounded like mixed results on a candidate last year or a staffer last year who seemed to be a very popular hire, and then the results obviously did not bear themselves out that way. So is there anyone on Mike Vrabel's staff, on Mike Vrabel's Titans staff, that you would be interested in Brian Callahan keeping? We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that your Two Rivers Ford Take is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So just to kind of get you updated on the latest, Tim Kelly, Paul Kaharski, our buddy at paulkaharski.com, the website of his own name, reported on Saturday morning that Brian Callahan fired a handful of people on Friday night. Offensive coordinator Tim Kelly was one of them. You had Charles London, who was told that he was not going to be not going to be retained, is Charles London, the quarterback's coach and pass game analyst. He was one of the names that had been discussed as a potential holdover because Will Levis spoke highly of him. Of course, he was very influential in Will Levis's level of success last year. Perhaps that is not the direction that it's clear that Brian Callahan is not interested in going that direction further. So he'll have a new quarterbacks coach. How they address things like pass game analyst, run game analyst, run game coordinator, pass game coordinator, those kind of things remains to be seen. But we know that those two members and Tony Dews, the former running backs coach and tight ends coach here, was hired by the New York Jets staff. He'll join Robert Saleh. He was not fired, but he, among other coaches, were allowed the opportunity to explore other opportunities out there, and he was one that got a job. So no news on the defensive side of the ball. Shane Bowen, as I mentioned, Chris Harris, Terrell Williams, some of the names that are floating around. Is there a staff member on Mike Vrabel's staff that you would be interested in keeping? Demetrius Conwell says Campbell equals Vrabel. No, they're not the same personality type at all. I understand why you see some of the similar vibes there, and they do have some similarities. But Dan Campbell and Mike Vrabel are not the same person. Oh, look at Brock Purdy going for it on 3rd and 4. Big scramble there by Brock Purdy, who's getting San Francisco in position to try and hang on to this lead with under 5 minutes left to play, taking off in a big spot. A huge comeback by the Niners after Detroit looked like they were going to just kind of cruise to a win here. As I get rid of the strength and conditioning coach, is Derek Wright? Yeah, Frank Perano's not coming back. Be curious to know from them what they do to replace him. That's as big a question as anything. Randall Williamson says Arthur Smith was not great. Henry was great. Tannehill was great. Arthur was just lucky to be there at the same time. No, that's not true. Henry was lucky to have Tannehill. Tannehill was lucky to have Henry. Arthur was lucky to have them both, and they were both lucky to have Arthur. You can't try and divvy this thing up. The success of the Titans was due in part to all three of those individuals. Now, how you want to parse that is fair to say, but Arthur Smith put together the most effective offense in 25 years of Tennessee Titans football. If you are going to denigrate that, you didn't watch them play. So I think that while there are some criticisms that are fair of Arthur, there are criticisms that are fair of Tannehill, there are criticisms that are fair of Derrick Henry. Their success is because all three of them were together at the correct time. And that level of success is not something that anybody has been able to achieve here statistically since then. So as we look at this, we're going to get a touchdown. It's a touchdown. Okay, I'm a little behind, it seems, in the office, but that is number 25 for San Francisco, breaking the plane. Elijah Mitchell expanding that San Francisco 49ers lead. 3:02 left to play. Looks like the Lions are about to get bounced, but we'll see. It's a big spot for Jared Goff. Anyway, as you look at the level of retention, you have to first understand what Brian Callahan is building here. This was the new Titans head coach at his introductory press conference on Thursday.
I think the biggest thing that we want to do to start is put the players we have in great position. Let them be able to find their roles, define what those roles are for them. and put them in the matchups that we feel are to our advantage. That's a very broad, general offensive philosophy, but that's sort of the starting point. We want to be great detail in the passing game, route definition, route spacing. Want to be able to complete balls at a high percentage. That's always going to be the goal. The run game, we still want to be physical. Don't get that part twisted. That's been part of the Titans' identity for a long time, and it will continue to be. We'll be a physical football team, and we'll be able to run the ball the way we need to win football games. But that's probably the best way I could say it without going too far in the weeds.
So that's Brian Callahan speaking with us on Thursday. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated at the best workout in Middle Tennessee, TrueMathFitness.com. So is there any member of Mike Vrabel's staff that you would like to keep? You heard Brian Callahan there outlining his philosophy. You heard Brian Callahan there expanding on who they're going to be on his side of the football. But of course, defensively, that is a big question, who these Titans are going to be, who they're going to hire. We have seen news of them requesting one candidate to come in and interview for their defensive coordinator job. They have also interviewed Eric Studsville, the Dolphins running back coach, about their OC opening. They have interviewed, or they will interview, passing game coordinator for the Jags, Nick Holes, Holz, is where you can find that. And then Denard Wilson is the defensive coordinator candidate who has been requested to interview here right now. Austin Hall says he wants an all-new staff. Remy Jamin says Charles London is the only one that he was interested in retaining. And, of course, Charles London has already been fired. So that is correct as to where they are right now. This is why we didn't want Ben Johnson, says Stephen King. What's happening with Detroit? No. Listen, what's happening to Detroit tonight is a product of Dan Campbell. And right, wrong, or indifferent, Dan Campbell is probably, by Q rating anyway, Dan Campbell is one of the most popular people in football. Analytics people love him. The football guys, like the, old school football guys, love him. His players, want to run through a wall for him. He's a very big motivator. He's a great unifier, and he's very, very aggressive. And tonight, to their detriment, when it looks like they were going to have the opportunity to take a 3-score lead, and since then have given up 27 unanswered points. If that was indicative of anything, then that, I might hear you out on not wanting Aaron Glenn, whose defense has given up 27 unanswered points. But Dan Campbell's decision-making has put them in a difficult position. They got overly aggressive. They got emotional, and it may well cost them, down 10 with under 3 minutes left to play. So with where Ben Johnson and things like that, I don't think you can pin that on him. I think that there's probably going to be some things that you like about Ben Johnson when he becomes the next coach of the Commanders in all likelihood. But Dan Campbell is the person who's ultimately responsible for the position that the Lions are in. I wouldn't get too bent out of shape about that. Titans legend, says Kyle on YouTube. Josh Reynolds, indeed. 2 bad drops in this game so far. But as we talk about, level of retention, I could, if I wanted to bother you all, make an argument for Shane Bowen. Now, listen, I haven't heard anything to the effect of Shane Bowen being retained. There's been no discussions to that effect from my knowledge. In fact, I think it's likely that Bowen ends up wherever Mike Vrabel ends up, whether that's this season, next season, or otherwise. Shane Bowen is somebody who got a little head coaching buzz after the 2022 season. Defense this year played poorly. They were not a good unit by any stretch of the imagination. There are some issues there as well. There are some injuries to attribute to that as well. But there is an argument to be made for Shane Bowen based on the results that the Titans defense had against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, some of you would argue that that's Jim Schwartz. Some of you would say, well, he's just one of Vrabel's lackeys, all these different things. Shane Bowen is a solid football coach. I don't know what he would be here without Mike Vrabel. I just know that the vast majority of you would not like to find out what that looks like, because you are ready for a change. And I think that change would be at a variety of different layers. It would be tough to fire Vrabel the way that they did and keep many members of his staff, including Bowen, who, of course, we know that Mike was particularly close to. Clean the house, says J Gore 10 on YouTube. Indeed. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, wherever justice demands. Amanda J. and her team have you covered. Make sure you get your constitutional rights protected at amandajgentry.com. So who's your Super Bowl pick this evening? It looks like the Niners might be able to close this thing out, though Goff and the Lions are driving. We have the Chiefs on the other side of the bracket. Who do you got in this nightcap, San Francisco or Detroit? This is a fascinating watch, given the way that Detroit blew this lead, 27 unanswered points. As I mentioned, San Francisco is at home. That atmosphere is rocking. Purdy is playing good football, and they have been able to maintain a level of consistency that when Deebo Samuels got hurt in the divisional round, looks like it might have been difficult for them. B-Bird says he wanted the Lions, but it's not looking good. Detroit is the better story for sure. Kansas City, San Fran is a rematch with a couple of different parts on the Niners side of things is going to be an interesting watch. But we know who will greet whoever makes it out of this NFC Championship game. We know that it will be the Chiefs. We know that it will be Patrick Mahomes because for the fourth time in 6 seasons as a starter, Patrick Mahomes will be starting in the Super Bowl.
I was told by multiple people in your building you were a man possessed this week. What is it like going and winning this game on the road this time?
Yeah, no, it was unreal. I mean, that's a great football team, every single aspect, and our guys stepped up to the challenge. It's been a fun year. I mean, a lot of adversity we've battled through, but we're not done yet. You know, we're gonna carry this momentum into the Super Bowl and try to go win that thing. You've been through a lot this year, but it was old Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes today. What worked so well between the two of you? Yeah, no, I mean, I knew he was going to show up. He always does. And when the lights get brighter, he plays better. And so I'm going to trust him at all times. I'm going to throw it to him one-on-one matchups, and he made plays happen. All right, go enjoy this, man. Appreciate you.
I mean, so good. So good with Patrick Mahomes. He didn't get sacked at any time in the postseason until today, where Baltimore got to him a couple of times. The Ravens choked. I mean, it is a terrible performance by the Ravens. It is really a bad job by a couple of different players, whether it's Zay Flowers, Jadeveon Clowney with some bad penalty, with a really bad roughing the passer penalty where he made head-to-head contact or led with his head on a hit on Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens just they shot themselves in the foot over and over again, and Kansas City is good enough, obviously, to take advantage of that. BF says, Buck, isn't it obvious the importance of tight end when we start talking about wide receivers? Can we talk about free agent tight ends? Well, sure, we can, but you have Wiley and Chig under rookie contract, so it's not like you're not going to spend big money on a tight end free agent. I haven't seen the status of guys like Drew Sample, who was a tight end in Cincinnati. They had Irv Smith. I want to say Irv Smith is a free agent as well. Guys who you might look at and say, oh, maybe Callahan brings them in for systematic kind of continuity, right? If you're bringing a new system to a new group of players, would it not be beneficial to have some of the players who were formerly on your team, Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith, these cost-effective free agents that aren't going to be bank-breaking but can help you get what you're trying to teach across to a lot of new players that you're dealing with, a lot of existing players that are doing on the roster. Remy says, we have tight end. Well, I mean, listen, it's very much in question whether your tight ends are good or not. There was some stuff from Wiley, about the midway point of the year that you started to feel optimistic about the trend, the direction he's trending. I thought that Chig finished much better than he started, which was a credit to him for sure. But I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and argue the idea that, like, I don't think that the Titans' tight end room is good necessarily. I think that the Titans' tight ends are under contract. I don't know if either of them are good. Is how I'll say that. So you may have it. This offense philosophical shift may benefit the two tight ends that you currently have under contract. But yeah, like I said, they're anything but proven commodities, the two of them. So I would understand kind of supplementing that with a free agent who you trust. Remy says, can you argue the tight end room is bad? Oh, sure. There's plenty of evidence for me to argue the tight end room was bad throughout the course of the year. But you did, like I said, to their credit, they did finish the year. And I know Wiley went on IR, which is disappointing, and injuries all over the place for the Titans, as is typically the case, it seems, in a season. But yes, I could very easily make the argument that they're bad. I would argue more on the side of inconsistency. I don't know that I would go full sell into bad, but they're not good. They need to produce much better for anybody. Oh, touchdown Detroit. Jameson Williams with under a minute to play. They have drawn within. We'll see if, they are going to have to go for one here to give themselves an opportunity to tie it on a field goal. 56 seconds left to play. Go off to Williams in the back of the end zone. So the free agents are going to be an interesting discussion. There's a couple of names who are associated with the Cincinnati Bengals who are going to be out there and available. But I think that for the time being, you would like to see improvement there. Remy says, so they aren't that bad, just inconsistent. No, I don't think they're that bad. I think like I said, I think they got better. How much time it takes them to adjust to a new system. I just like my point, Remy, is I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't. There's nothing for me to really lean in on the idea of Chig or Wiley being some kind of tight end one into the future beyond, okay, new coaching staff. Let's see what they're able to accomplish here. And if they can vibe with the new system and if they can even thrive within that system, that would be swell. Sunday Funday, we'll wrap it up so we can get you back in time for the finish of this game. What's the best thing that you saw on Sunday? I'll remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by the best place for you to wager, Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get up to $1,000 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 or up in Tennessee to bet. So whether you like it or not, whether it depresses you or not, because if you're in the AFC, you have to get past them. The Chiefs being in the 4th Super Bowl in 6 years is wild to me. It's a level of accomplishment that they should all be proud of. Travis Kelce surpassed Jerry Rice on the most receptions, most postseason receptions in NFL history today. Patrick Mahomes is on a trajectory that is better than Tom Brady's. They are, as a team, the defense is the best that Patrick Mahomes has had in his career here. And the guys who were, who you didn't trust, speaking of not trusting players, MVS making plays down the field a couple of times so far in the postseason. They are turning things on at the correct time. So to see that today, it was the best thing that I saw on this Sunday, pending this NFC Championship result.
An awesome job. No turnovers by Kansas City. They got 66 yards in total offense until that play against Marquez Valdez-Scantling as Travis Kelce. Hey,
with Taylor Swift.
To the victors go everything. I don't know what to say.
Phil, life is good, huh?
Yeah, life is good. It is. But I'll say this. Kansas City coaches did a great job. And now if you're the Baltimore Ravens, this was a Super Bowl team they had. This is going to hurt for a long time.
And I think they got away from what got them here. They're the #1 rushing team in the National Football League. And
you got to fight for your right to party! Believe it, baby. We're going to Las Vegas, Nevada to go get us another one.
So that's the Chiefs. Taylor Swift, the whole 9 yards. It looked like it was going to be Taylor Swift versus Eminem in the Super Bowl, but Detroit right now not able to recover the onside and looking more and more like it will be a rematch between the Chiefs and the Niners. Flag down on the field. Josh Reynolds, Titans legend, dropping the onside kick. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys. I know it was a quick one. We wanted to make sure that we get you back in time for the football game. Radio show from 10 to 1 tomorrow. We'll be talking more. We'll be getting into details on the firings of the Titans coaching staff, on the retentions of the Titans coaching staff, and all manner of other things that you need to know. And obviously, we'll be talking about the Super Bowl matchup that will be. So look forward to speaking to you guys then from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. See y'all. Ready?